Okay, let's dive in. We've been given a source today centered around Clive Barker's novella, The Hellbound Heart.
That's right. It's a work of fiction, obviously, but one that extracts some seriously unsettling ideas and paints them with incredibly vivid, almost too vivid detail.
Absolutely. So what is this deep dive about? At its core, it's the story of chasing the absolute extreme of sensation, the terrifying consequences when you finally get what you think you want.
And the bizarre entities that answer the call when you go looking for, forbidden experiences.
Our mission then is to really navigate this dark tale.
Mm.
We need to understand the deep motivations of the characters who are seeking something beyond the everyday.
Right. Explore the truly strange and horrifying nature of the wonders they find, and maybe grasp the unsettling rules of this world that seems to be just a thin membrane away from our own.
And, while we're probably not going to be solving mysterious puzzle boxes ourselves anytime soon,
Hopefully.
hopefully not, this story taps into some surprisingly relatable themes. That universal human search for something more, maybe.
Yeah, and the very real price of curiosity, the blurry line between pleasure and pain.
And frankly, how ill-equipped we are to deal with things that are utterly beyond our comprehension when they actually show up.
It forces you, the listener, to confront some uncomfortable possibilities about what might lie just beneath the surface of accepted reality.
It really does.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean for the characters in this story? Let's unpack this unsettling journey, starting with Frank. The source tells us everything begins with a man named Frank. Who is he? What's driving him?
Well, Frank is presented as profoundly bored. The narrative uses this great phrase, describing his life as a dull round of desire, seduction, and disappointment.
Okay.
He's restless, he's jaded, he craves something entirely new, something absolute insensation to break free from this void.
So right from the start, Barker is showing us how even conventional pleasure can lead to a kind of existential weariness, setting the stage for his desperate search for something more, that core theme we mentioned. And that search leads him to seek out Lemarchand's box. Tell us about this object.
Okay, so it's described as an incredibly complex three-dimensional jigsaw created by a master French craftsman named Lemarchand back in the 18th century.
Lemarchand. Okay.
The rumor Frank heard, passed on by a man named Kircher, who sold him the box, was that it contained wonders. It's apparently influenced by intricate Chinese puzzles, but with this added layer of a perverse logic that's entirely Lemarchand's own twisted genius.
Right. Not just complex, but perverse.
Yeah.
And solving it wasn't about intellect or logic for Frank, was it?
No, interestingly, the text emphasizes it was purely trial and error. Specifically, it was a chance juxtaposition of thumbs, middle, and last fingers that finally made a segment click open for him.
Almost accidental.
Yeah, which feels significant given what happens next.
So he finally gets a piece to move. What are the first signs that this is far more than just a clever puzzle?
Well, the first things he notices are the interior surfaces, described as brilliantly polished, reflecting his distorted image back at him. And unlocking a segment triggers a musical mechanism. Initially, it plays a short rondo of sublime banality. Almost mockingly simple.
Yeah, banal. Okay.
But as he opens more pieces, the music becomes more complex, more ornate, building as the mechanism reveals itself.
But the truly unmistakable signal,
Yeah.
the one that starts causing physical distress, is the sound of a bell.
Yes, as he gets closer to the final solution, a steady, somber tolling begins. It churns his stomach like a physical manifestation of its unnatural presence.
Right.
He quickly realizes it's not an external sound saying no church, summoning bell at such an hour.
Right.
It's emanating from somewhere much more distant, through the as-yet invisible door the box is designed to open.
And you get this feeling he's standing on the threshold of a new world. Now, he's been preparing for this moment meticulously, following instructions from the man Kircher. What does that preparation look like? Because it's pretty unsettling.
It absolutely is. The bare boards of the room are scrubbed clean and strewn with petals. He's set up an altar on the west wall, and the offerings, well, they're deeply disturbing.
Yeah, what are they?
Bones, bonbons, needles, a jug containing his own 7 days collection of urine, and this gruesome plate of doves' heads. The text actually goes out of its way to emphasize Frank's diligence in following these instructions, saying he shamed a saint with his thoroughness.
So he's gone to extreme lengths.
Yeah.
But as the bell gets louder, the source tells us fear definitely sets in. He even murmurs, "Too late."
But then he immediately rationalizes it, trying to steel himself. He reminds himself of the risks he's already taken, risking life and sanity for this.
Right.
He clings to the promise of pleasures that would redefine the parameters of sensation and fundamentally transform him, finally freeing him from that profound boredom.
And the Cenobites' arrival is visually heralded by the humble, bare light bulb in the room.
Yeah, the bulb dims and brightens with the rhythm of the bell. In the darkness between chimes, the room itself seems to vanish. But with each peal, the light that returns is more revelatory. It briefly shows the wall flaying away.
Flaying away.
Yeah, revealing the province beyond.
And what does Frank perceive there? What's on the other side of this threshold?
He sees it as a world of birds, specifically vast black birds caught in perpetual tempest.
Wow.
It's a place of confusion and full of brittle, broken things that are constantly rising and falling. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, the wall becomes solid again, the bell stops, and the bulb dies completely.
So the bells stop, the light is gone, and then they are there. Describe who these entities are, the ones who answer the box's call.
These are the Cenobites. The source refers to them as the theologians of the Order of the Gash.
The Order of the Gash. Okay.
They simply appear, glowing with a fitful phosphorescence, blue, cold, charmless. Frank is immediately distressed, noting he never could have imagined what they would look like.
Their appearance is meticulously detailed and incredibly disturbing in the text.
It is. Their bodies are covered in ritual scars, their flesh cosmetically punctured and sliced and infibulated, then dusted down with ash.
Infibulated. What does that mean?
It means they have clasps or stitches deliberately fastening parts of their flesh together, contributing to their utterly unnatural constructed look.
Jeez.
They carry a layered smell, a surface scent of vanilla covering a deep stench beneath. And their faces are devoid of typical human emotion. They show nothing of joy or even humanity, only desperation and an appetite.
The initial encounter involves them questioning Frank.
A quartet of them. The first speaker's gender is ambiguous. Hooks connect its eye flaps to its lower lip, pulled by speaking as it asks, "What city is this?"
Okay.
The second has a voice like an excited girl and an intricate grid tattoo over its head with jeweled pins at the intersections, mirroring decorations on its tongue. It asks if he knows who they are.
Right.
And the third, with heavily scarified features and corrupted speech, asks simply, "What do you want?"
This is where Frank's naive expectations clash violently with reality.
Absolutely. He expected typical human-defined pleasures, numberless splendors, beautiful, compliant women, sighs and languid bodies spread on the floor, virgin whores, total exaltation by lust.
Yeah, his fantasy, basically.
Right. Instead, he's faced with these sexless things with their corrugated flesh. The text says he's almost more nauseated than afraid at first.
He also notes the absence of a fifth Cenobite.
Yes. They mention a missing fifth entity, the engineer, who they say will arrive should the moment merit. This hints at a hierarchy, maybe even a designer behind their torments.
Like Ziner.
Okay.
And Frank, clinging to his original desire, states, pleasure.
They confirm they know pleasure, promising him everything you ever wanted and acknowledging his frenzy of desire. But then comes the critical, terrifying twist. Not as you understand it.
Oh, there's the catch.
Exactly. They explain that their experiences, the sensations they inhabit, are conditions of the nerve endings your imagination could not hope to evoke, making your most treasured depravity child's play in comparison.
So they pose the question, will he partake? And Frank, perhaps still not fully grasping the horrific difference, says, show me.
Finally acknowledging there's no going back.
And the pleasure commences instantly.
Yeah. The door opens behind him, revealing a panic-filled darkness rather than the world of birds. The Cenobites vanish, and even the unsettling offerings he prepared blacken and seem to burn away.
And then the sensory overload begins.
Yeah.
This sounds truly awful.
It is. Overwhelming smells flood, and bitterness, perfume, paint, sap, even bird odor.
Bird ordure.
Physical sensations are magnified to an unbearable degree. He feels dust motes, his own breath chafing, his eyes blinking, old food remnants between his teeth. Intense sound bombards him, his body sounds, external noises blending into a cacophony.
And his sight.
Horrifyingly magnified. Brushstrokes on the ceiling become an awesome geography. The weave of his shirt an unbearable elaboration.
He tries closing his eyes, but that's even worse.
Inside his head, he's tormented by violent, overwhelming memories, flooding in without his control. Memories of sucking his mother's milk, his siblings' arms, moments from childhood, adult feelings, tastes, smells, sights, women. just relentless.
Oh.
He tries to open his eyes again, but they're sealed shut. The text suggests maybe tears or pus or needle and thread.
He's begging them to stop. Why? Why are you doing this to me?
But his pleas are useless. The sensations only intensify, rising higher. In a final, desperate act aroused by the flood of memories, he attempts a racking, joyless orgasm, a pathetic attempt to find some release or freedom, but it fails completely.
Oh, man.
He collapses, screaming and begging until...
It stops.
Suddenly, all at once.
Silence. Absence. Sight, sound, touch, taste, smell all gone. For a few seconds, he's left doubting his very existence.
When he opens his eyes, the room is empty again, but then the fourth Cenobite appears.
This is the one revealed as female. She's described as gray yet gleaming, her lips bloody, legs parted, showing elaborate scarification of her pubis. She's sitting on a pile of rotting human heads, and she smiles.
And in this moment, Frank has his terrible final realization about what he stumbled into. He sees the collision of sensuality and death embodied by this figure and the heads. He knows she's responsible. He understands Kircher lied, or he was fundamentally deceived. There is no pleasure as humankind understood it here. He's made a very terrible mistake.
And the female Cenobite simply confirms his fate.
Yeah, she just says, now we can begin. The implication is that his torment has only just started. It's horrifying.
After Frank's horrifying encounter, the story shifts perspective completely. We're introduced to Rory and Julia.
Right, they're a married couple and they're moving into Rory's late grandmother's house. It's a significant house, willed jointly to Rory and his brother Frank, who is at this point missing and presumed gone.
The house is clearly in rough shape. It hasn't been touched in years.
Yeah.
Julia is immediately unimpressed, finding it not quite what I expected.
But Rory is full of optimistic energy, wanting to paint it and pamper it and make it like heaven, reassuring her to trust me.
Moving day falls on a Sunday, a detail the source includes.
Yeah, to note that it's still the Lord's Day in this part of the city, meaning the neighbors are curious but distinctly unhelpful when it comes to physical labor.
Right. Rory's friend Kirsty also arrives to help, having been invited by Rory. Julia's reaction to Kirsty is quite strong, isn't it? She seems to instantly dislike her.
She does. Julia finds Kirsty annoying, her manner dreamy, perpetually defeated. She views Kirsty as a hindrance and feels faint bafflement at her very existence.
Ouch.
And Julia also observes Kirsty's dog-like adulation for Rory, and this sight triggers despair in Julia herself. It's complex.
While the others are busy, Julia seeks a moment of solitude and explores the upper rooms. This leads her to the large front room.
She enters and immediately feels its oppressive atmosphere, cold, stagnant, hateful, clammy. The blind is nailed shut, effectively cutting out the least intrusion of life.
Okay.
As she stands by the window examining it, the bell rings again, that same ominous sound reverberating around the room.
The bell. Okay, so it's connected to the room somehow.
Seems like it. The room feels wrong, profoundly disturbing. She slams the door shut and locks it, the act giving her a queer satisfaction. And as she locks it, the bell stops.
Huh. Interesting. The story then takes us back, revealing the history between Rory, Frank, and Julia, explaining the tension Julia feels.
Right. Rory rarely spoke of Frank, although they were closest children. Their paths diverged dramatically, with Frank's life descending into criminality, described as a life in delirium, fueled by an appetite for experience that conceded no moral imperative.
So a bad seed, basically.
Pretty much. Julia's curiosity was piqued by Rory's conflicted feelings, a mixture of revulsion and envy when he spoke of his brother.
And then just 2 weeks before Julia and Rory's wedding, Frank reappears.
Yes. He seems successful now, smooth as a polished stone, and Julia succumbed to his charm within hours.
Wow, quick.
Immediately. She started thinking less of Rory and more of Frank, drawn to a beautiful desperation she felt Rory lacked.
The novella is explicit about the affair that follows.
It is. They went upstairs under the pretense of looking at the wedding dress, leaving Kirsty downstairs. The sexual encounter is described in chilling terms as having, in every regard but the matter of her acquiescence, all the aggression and the joylessness of rape.
That's
harsh. Very. The text makes a point of noting that memory has sweetened events for Julia since that time. Frank disappeared the very next day.
just vanished.
Yep. Julia was left mourning him, and her relationship with Rory deteriorated as she found herself thinking of Frank as she made love to his brother.
Oof. Later, finding old photos of Frank brings her to tears, but not of sadness.
No, they are tears of fury. Fury at herself. She feels she lost herself, that her grip on her own life faltered, lying on a bed of wedding lace, while Frank beset her neck with kisses.
Despite locking the room, Julia finds herself repeatedly drawn back to the damp room upstairs.
Even though it remains untouched, she feels an odd assortment of feelings there, a strange comfort, describing it as a womb of sorts, a dead woman's womb.
A dead woman's womb.
Hick.
Creepy.
Deeply. She feels guilty about her actions, about the affair, but her feet seem to take her there instinctively.
Then comes a pivotal moment. The day of Rory's accident, the day blood is spilled in that room.
Right. While watching Rory work downstairs, she feels the room call her upstairs again. Rory cuts his thumb badly, a gush of color, when the back door slams unexpectedly.
Just slams shut.
Yeah, seemingly on its own. He comes upstairs, bleeding profusely. Julia helps him, wraps his hand, and takes him to the hospital. She finds his reaction and his subsequent gratitude almost comical, wanting only his absence so she can be alone with her thoughts of Frank.
That's cold. The next day, something impossible about the room's floor confirms her unsettling suspicions.
The blood from Rory's accident the previous day is gone. Rory denies cleaning it, dismisses her concern as her being an overly fussy, perfect housefrau, or simply losing her sanity.
But Julia...
Julia, the narrative tells us, feels she's about to find it again. This disappearance of the blood isn't a sign of cleanliness. It's a sign that something unholy is at work.
That feeling that she's about to find her sanity again, twisted as it is, leads Julia back to the damp room during a party. What does she discover this time?
She goes upstairs, confirming the bloodstains are indeed gone. She hears a sound, initially thinks it's a cockroach running, but quickly recognizes it as a primitive code, like a tapping or scratching.
A code?
Yeah. She speaks to the darkness. I hear you. The sound becomes urgent, directing her to a spot on the wall that feels intensely cold.
And then the wall itself responds.
Yes, it becomes translucent, burning with a cold luminescence, segments shifting like a magician's prop. Through it, she sees something flicker, a figure.
What does it look like?
It's human, or had been, but it's ripped apart and sewn together again, twisted and blackened. It has one gleaming eye and a visible spine. Despite the grotesque corruption, it seems weak but appears alive.
And strikingly, the source says Julia feels no fear looking at this horrifying sight, only pity.
That pity is key. And the figure speaks incredibly through a hole in its head. The first word is Julia.
Just her name. The figure disappears back into the wall, leaving Julia with a terrifying realization.
She understands that this was Frank. He's trapped between the sphere she occupied and some other place, a place of bells and troubled darkness. She's left wondering what happened to his body if he died here in this room.
And his last word to her before disappearing was crucial, unlocking the room's secret.
Blood. Julia instantly connects this to Rory's blood disappearing from the floor. She realizes that single injury, that single gush of blood, nourished Frank's remnants enough to allow this contact.
But not enough to bring him back fully.
Right. For him to regenerate, a much larger supply is needed.
And this is the moment Julia's true motivation crystallizes, fueled by her prior obsession.
She thinks back to Frank's embrace, his insistence. She wants that intensity again. If blood restores him, she will provide it. The thought consumes her completely, taking away sleep, her grip on reality, even her sorrow over his disappearance. She finally understands she was truly in love with and mourning Frank, and she believes if she frees him, he will be hers, her pet, whether he is docile or brutal.
This is a profound shift, isn't it? Her obsession turns deadly.
It is. It completely overrides her moral compass. She starts plotting immediately. She finds her smile again, fooling Rory into thinking she's happy in the new house. While enduring his touch, always thinking of Frank, she begins to plot the getting of blood.
The source then takes us inside Frank's perspective again, giving us his horrifying experience in the wall.
Yeah, he experiences time as warped and distorted in the wall, feeling eons pass when it might only have been hours or even minutes. Seeing Julia through the wall brings a fragile chance for escape. He reflects on his past, his downward spiral, his nihilism, and his relentless search for pleasure, including the rumors of Lemarchand's box, which he tracked down through various sources like Desaad and Kircher. He confirms he prepared meticulously for the summoning, enough to have shamed a saint, just as the original narration said.
But he confirms his fatal error was his arrogance with the Cenobites.
Yes, he calls them the Order of the Gash. He admits he was naive, believing their definition of pleasure matched his own. Instead, they subjected him to incalculable suffering, an overdose of sensation far beyond anything he could have imagined.
Ugh.
He states there is no compassion on their side of the schism, this profound, terrifying divide between his world and their dimension. He heard only weeping and the laughter, witnessing horrors fashioned by the engineer, that enigmatic fifth entity.
A further cruelty for Frank is being able to see the world he left behind through the wall.
Yeah, his view is limited to the upper room. It was empty for a year, this dead space. Then Rory and Julia arrived, bringing hope for his escape.
He's heard whispers, even among the damned, of loopholes for escape.
Yes, that a mind supple or cunning enough might find a way back. The key rule, from what he understands, is that the Cenobites can't follow unless they're summoned to his location in the real world.
Ah, okay. So if he gets back,
If he can regenerate and get back, it's a decree absolute, a permanent escape. He sees it as a risk worth taking, even if it means coming back in a horrific state.
and he realizes he was lucky enough to leave behind just enough of himself, a sufficient sign to facilitate his return.
His last act before the full torment began was apparently to empty his testicles. Dead sperm was a meager keepsake, he thinks, but enough.
Grim.
Incredibly, Rory's accidental cut, spilling blood on the floor near where Frank was contained, allowed him to profit from the pain, find a fingerhold, and regain just enough strength to contact Julia. He knows now it's up to Julia.
He has hopes about Julia, but also doubts.
He fears she'll abandon him, rationalize the vision of his tormented form as a dream or delusion, but he clings to signs of hope. Her repeated return to the room, her muttering words like here, waiting, and soon, and her evident sadness and frustration in her marriage.
From Frank's warped perspective, he sees them saving each other through this monstrous act.
He believes he represents mystery, darkness, all she had dreamed of but was too conventional to seek. If freed, he promises he will service her to the very threshold where the strong grew stronger and the weak perished. He calls that place, that edge of sensation, his true home.
Julia is now fully committed to restoring Frank, willing to cross any line for her obsession. How does she find her first victim?
She goes to a bar, deliberately seeking someone vulnerable. She targets a nervous, ruddy-featured man, later named Patrick. She finds him easily manipulated, seeing him as a born victim for this horrific journey.
A victim?
And she feels no fear about what she's about to do. It's chilling how quickly she adopts this monstrous efficiency.
She successfully lures him back to the house.
Yes, she invites him home under the pretense of loneliness, claiming, I get lonely sometimes. He's nervous but eager. She leads him upstairs to the damp room, which she has purposefully left slightly ajar.
Once inside, the trap is sprung.
He immediately notices there's no bed, which confuses him. She switches on the bare light bulb, the slaughtering knife she hid in Rory's jacket pocket waiting nearby. He's trembling.
Oh, God.
As she helps undress him, she notes his pale and waxy body with cold detachment. She confirms to herself that Frank is watching from the wall.
The man, Patrick, suddenly realizes something is terribly wrong and tries to leave.
He claims he needs the bathroom. As he steps towards the door, Julia grabs the knife and turns on him, slicing his belly with terrifying ease, the ease of a bleed in overripe cheese. The room responds to the violence, flickering and trembling as blood appears.
He fights back desperately at first.
He curses, knocks the knife away, and grabs her hair. She falls, but quickly retrieves the knife and attacks again as he struggles futilely with the door. She stabs him repeatedly. The text says she lost count. His death struggle is described with dark humor as farcical stuff. He collapses and dies.
And just as Frank's voice hinted, the room and Frank's hidden form respond to the blood.
The room gives soft sighs of anticipation. A bell rings, the one Frank heard. Julia steps out briefly to wash her hands, hearing the room groan with this unholy hunger.
A groan.
When she returns, the room feels like a furnace, pulsing with the dead man's energy. The blood on the floor literally crawls towards the wall where Frank is, the beads seeming to boil and evaporate as they reach it.
The corpse is consumed almost immediately.
It's drained of every nutritious element, convulsing as its skin desiccates. The body is reduced to a mere husk, weighing like a small child. Julia, incredibly, is impressed by the efficiency of this process.
But when the light goes out again, Frank isn't fully visible or whole.
Julia calls for him, "Where are you?" But the walls are mute for a moment. The room cools. She knows she has to dispose of the body before Rory returns. She finally finds Frank in the shadows, hearing his voice. It's a tired voice, but with a disturbing concrete quality now.
Concrete?
Yeah, like solidifying. He's only half made, still a gruesome travesty, and doesn't want her to see him like this. He needs more blood, Julia. And soon. His voice carries an urgency that, despite everything, frightens her.
Wow.
She leaves to meet Rory, hearing a sound she interprets as laughter behind her, nor unlike sobs.
So Frank is partially regenerated, a fragile, horrific form needing more. Meanwhile, Rory is growing increasingly concerned about Julia's behavior.
Yes, he calls his friend Kirsty, saying Julia is acting strange, looks terrible, and seems withdrawn, not wanting to leave the house. He asks Kirsty to go over and speak to her, hoping she can help.
During this phone call, the narrative intersperses glimpses into Frank's mind, revealing his fear.
Right. While Rory and Kirsty are talking, Frank's voice intrudes into the narrative, revealing his terror of slipping back into the void. He knows. They'll know I've gone by now, referring to the gash, the bastards that took me.
The gash.
He says they are waiting for you, just beyond the wall, a constant threat.
Kirsty, agreeing to help Rory, commits to visiting Julia the next day, feeling a kind of togetherness with him in their shared concern for Julia.
Needing more blood for Frank, Julia goes back to the bar. It's raining heavily, fewer potential victims. She targets a man she thinks is named White Tie, another Patrick.
Patrick again.
Seems to be a common name for victims here. He's persistent, grabbing her wrist with a grip so tight she almost cried out. In that moment, she knows instantly she was going to have to kill him. She leads him back to the house.
This time she seems more practiced, more ruthless.
She takes him straight upstairs to the locked room. She makes a conscious decision not to let him undress, specifically to prevent him from seeing Frank in his current state.
Smart, in a horrible way.
He notices the lack of a bed, tries to kiss her. As she fends him off and reaches for the knife, the shadows in the room seem to growl. Patrick hears it, sees fretful motion in the corner, thinking someone is there.
And Julia attacks.
Slicing his neck, hand, and face, blood spurts out violently, with a fat spurt that hit the wall with a wet thud. Julia hears Frank's guttural sounds of pleasure. Patrick collapses and dies.
And Frank's regeneration has clearly progressed significantly with this second sacrifice.
Oh, yeah. He's no longer just a voice in the shadows. He's in the corner, rocking, saying, "Good woman." His voice is stronger, the broken syllables gone. He moves into her sight, described as too greedy for sustenance.
What does he look like now?
He's a hideous travesty, devoid of skin, his arteries and veins mapped across his body, muscle ripening, hair sprouting prematurely in patches. The source says the scraps of humanity that remain only make his state worse, more horrifying.
He can speak more clearly now and tells Julia about his pain.
His voice is now indisputably Frank's, no longer broken. He says chillingly, "I feel pain," confirming his nerves are working again, reconnecting with sensation.
Wow.
He asks Julia to help bind him and says he needs another body. Julia, despite her complicity, asks if there's no end to this. Frank dismisses her concern, what's to lose? He promises to be whole soon, and then they'll be together as they were before.
And Julia, despite her momentary doubt, seems to accept this monstrous path.
She feels a flash of anger at his callous dismissal of Rory, but then self-revulsion at her own actions. Frank whispers for her to heal me, please, appealing to her like a lover. He claims that in her, he might have found a reason to live, a reason to return.
He's manipulating her.
Totally. She agrees to get more blood, feeling a dark thrill of ownership touching his vulnerable, raw body. They both understand this is the most dangerous time he needs to regenerate quickly before something intervenes. He kneels, touches her. She touches his head, feels the hair, described as silken, like a baby's, feels the skull beneath the raw meat. She knows he lacks delicacy now, but she clings to the hope that she will somehow get love from him.
The following day, Kirsty arrives at the house, as she promised Rory.
She immediately notices something is wrong. The blind is gone from the upper window, replaced by newspaper. She watches for a moment, sees Julia return.
With Patrick?
Yes. And moments later, hears a shout from within, then a second, abrupt one.
Oh no. Despite her growing unease, Kirsty decides to enter the house.
She slips into the back garden through a gate that's mysteriously unlocked and enters through the back door. The house is silent inside, but feels wrong. She goes upstairs, trying to rationalize what she heard, thinking perhaps it was pleasure, not terror.
And then she walks into the horror unfolding.
Checking one of the bedrooms, she hears a misshapen cry. She sees a figure lurch from a room. It's Sykes, the source clarifies, the third victim, described as a fretful man, horribly changed, like he has a wasting disease.
Sykes.
He throws himself towards her. Behind him, a bandaged figure, his body bandaged, stained by issues of blood and pus, spills into sight, moving fast and ferociously.
That must be Frank.
Has to be. It grabs Sykes by the neck, tightening its grip. Sykes trembles and blood spurts out, filling the air like hot hail. Kirsty's instinct is to run.
But as she reaches the stairs, the bandaged figure speaks, and the sound stops her.
Its voice is familiar, described as having melting tones. It calls her name, says it saw her at the window. Kirsty freezes because she recognizes it, or thinks she does. It's Rory's voice, an uncanny resemblance coming from this bandaged horror.
Rory's voice, not Frank's.
No, the source says it's an uncanny resemblance to Rory's voice. This shocking sound, this theft of a beloved voice from this monster, roots her to the spot.
And that momentary pause is all the figure needs to capture her.
The bandaged figure shambles closer. Kirsty finally tries to flee again, but it's too late. It grabs her neck, covering her face with a corrugated palm, canceling both the shout and the breath. It plucks her up effortlessly and carries her back to the room upstairs, which now smelled of soured milk and fresh meat.
God.
She's flung down onto the boards, wet and warm, and immediately retches.
Kirsty is now trapped in the room with the bandaged creature. How does its true identity become undeniable?
The figure comes sniffing her and says chillingly, "Come to Daddy."
Come to Daddy! Oh, that's Frank's line?
Exactly. Kirsty instinctively refuses. It asks if she remembers it. She shakes her head, terrified. The reply comes, "Frank, this is Brother Frank." Kirsty finally puts the pieces together, remembering meeting him once and having instantly hated him.
Frank begins to torment her, not just physically, but with a twisted kind of philosophical cruelty.
He touches her with a vile finesse, his fingers unshoeable. She shrieks and tries to push him away. He dismisses her terror, asking, "What's to be frightened of?" He tells her about his own torments, how he used to try and dream the agonies away, but learned, "But you can't, they have to be endured."
That's awful.
Kirsty recognizes this as a terrible, unsavory truth, seeing a horrifying sophistication in his awful nakedness, his state, a product of profound suffering.
But unlike Frank, Kirsty realizes she cannot simply endure this. Her very sanity is at stake. She has to fight back.
She lashes out desperately, gouging at his face with her fingers, gouging at his eye holes and mouth. The flesh is horrific, having the consistency of jelly coming away in globs.
Oh, godly.
He shouts in pain, his grip relaxes slightly, and she throws herself away from him, hitting the wall. Frank roars in fury. She slides along the wall toward the door, frantic to escape.
As she does, her foot kicks something small.
A jar of preserved ginger that was part of Frank's earlier ritual offering, sending it rolling across the floor. This tiny detail becomes crucial. Frank turns, his torn bandaging revealing exposed bone. He sees her and bears down with renewed violence. His blows are meant to kill, but his fury makes them imprecise. Gashes open on Kirsty. As she sinks, battered and desperate, she remembers something she's been holding on to.
She still has the box.
It's in her hand. In a final act of defiance, she raises it to strike. Frank sees the box, and his assault abruptly stops. There's a shift in his tone, an undeniable anxiety as he demands, "Give it to me."
He wants the box back.
He wants his keepsake, his connection to that other world, and surprisingly seems unwilling to take it by force from her.
But Kirsty sees an opportunity in his pause. She uses the box to defy him.
She refuses, simply saying no. He insists, escalating to threats of killing her. She looks at this bandaged monster who sounds like Rory and demands, "Say please."
Say please, brave.
Incredibly, he does. The text describes it as polite as a calculating child, a horrifying contrast to his appearance. With all her remaining strength, she throws the box at the window.
And what happens then?
The box shatters the glass and disappears outside into the night. Frank shrieks in pure anguish and rage, running to the window and screaming, "No! No!"
And that distraction is all Kirsty needs to make another attempt at escape.
She races to the door, down the stairs, like a geriatric in her panicked haste, and out into the hallway below. Outside, she sees that the day has somehow brightened, a jarring contrast to the horror within.
Does she get the box?
Yes, she finds the box among the shards of glass outside, picks it up as a souvenir of her defiance, and runs, babbling fragments of things seen and felt. She runs until she encounters someone who offers help, and her mind, overwhelmed, loses its grip on the light, collapsing into darkness.
Kirsty wakes up later in a hospital room. What's her immediate decision?
She's in a room of perfect whiteness, a stark contrast to the darkness she just escaped. She decides not to tell the truth about what happened. She fabricates a story of confusion, fearing that telling the reality of bandaged monsters and talking walls would get her dismissed as hallucinating or simply heavily sedated.
Okay, makes sense. And the box, that object of so much horror, reappears.
A doctor brings it back to her. He says they found it in her hand and had the devil's own job getting it out, suggesting it was clutched tightly. It has blood on it, but they've cleaned it. Despite her decision to lie about the events, she asks for the box back.
Alone again with the box, bored by the endless white walls, she examines it more closely this time. It almost seems to invite her.
She notices infinitesimal cracks on the surface where the blood residue remains, showing how the pieces relate. Using these as a kind of map, she begins opening it again through trial and error, rediscovering its general geography.
Oh no, not again.
After some time, she finds the mechanism again, a click. A compartment slides out, revealing inner beauty, polished surfaces, colored shadows, and the box's strange music begins again. She continues opening segments, adding more complex layers to the tune, just as Frank did.
And as she opens the fourth section, the bell rings again.
That same ominous tolling. The hospital walls around her seem subtly out of true, vibrating with its presence. The bell isn't outside, it's behind her. The bedside light flickers and goes out, plunging the room into darkness again. And a Cenobite appears, glowing with that soft phosphorescence.
And the box, incredibly, reacts on its own.
The box reassembles itself without her touch, the pieces floating, sliding back together, sealing itself as the Cenobite appears. She sees ghostly faces in the lacquer, described as twisted as if by grief or bad glass, perhaps reflections of previous victims.
The Cenobite speaks, recognizing the box and Kirsty's action.
It identifies the box as the Lemarchand configuration, confirming its purpose as a means to break the surface of the real. Essentially an invocation for the Cenobites, a key to unlocking the schism between worlds.
An invocation.
It acknowledges she did it in ignorance, stating this has happened before. But it chillingly informs her there's no way to seal the schism until we take what's ours, implying she is now their property.
Kirsty calls it a mistake and refuses to go with it, but at that moment a nurse enters the room.
Right. The nurse asks if Kirsty called out. The Cenobite reveals its nature and her predicament to Kirsty. She doesn't see me, nor hear me. I belong to you, Kirsty, and you to me.
Oh, that's terrifying. And visible tormentor.
Kirsty denies calling out, maintaining her fabricated story, and the nurse leaves, telling her to get back in bed.
The Cenobite, unfazed, reiterates its intent to take her. Such depressing places, it says of the hospital. This is where Kirsty, showing incredible presence of mind, makes her bargain.
She stalls, knowing this is her only chance. The Cenobite dismisses her fear and potential tears as a waste of good suffering.
A waste of good suffering. Wow.
A chilling phrase that encapsulates their nature. Kirsty asks about the box, and then she names Frank Cotton. The Cenobite confirms it knows Frank, saying, "We know Frank," confirming he sought pleasure and squirmed when they gave him their version of it.
Kirsty then offers her desperate deal.
She offers to take them to Frank, who she knows is very much alive, stating they can take him back instead of her. The Cenobite is tempted by this, but also suspicious, fearing it's a lie.
So how does Kirsty prove she's telling the truth, offering the only proof that Frank is indeed back and in the human world?
She shows the Cenobite her slashed arms, the wounds Frank inflicted during her escape attempt. This is undeniable proof that he is in her world and capable of causing physical harm.
Okay, that's smart.
The Cenobite accepts the deal. Deliver him alive to us then. Make him confess himself, and maybe we won't tear your soul apart. The source tells us Kirsty feels immense relief at this horrifying bargain.
While Kirsty is making her life-or-death bargain with the Cenobite in the hospital, back at the house, Rory is confronting Julia.
Right. Rory is in the hallway, seeing Julia's troubled look, desperately hoping she'll confess whatever is wrong. Julia tells him it's difficult, that she has so much to tell you, and leads him upstairs, presumably to show him what she's done.
Kirsty arrives back at the house soon after, guided by the Cenobite's influence or her own need for justice.
She doesn't feel the cold now, feeling a strange sense that she is walking with demons, focused on seeking revenge on Frank and wanting to watch him squirm as he's reclaimed. She rings the bell.
Julia answers.
Yes, holding a length of white lace, the wedding veil. Julia seems strangely unfazed. Kirsty demands to see Rory and steps inside, immediately feeling the house's unnatural chill. Julia calls her terrible. Kirsty blurts out that she was there, that she saw what happened. Julia feigns ignorance, trying to maintain her composure.
Julia leads Kirsty into the dining room where Rory is waiting.
Rory is there, looking unwell, much the worse for wear, with dried blood visible on his face and hairline. He's holding a drink. Julia's wedding dress is draped on a chair.
What does he say?
Rory tells Kirsty it's all right now, claiming Julia told him everything, that it's over, and that they destroyed Frank.
Kirsty immediately doubts this, given her bargain with the Cenobites requires Frank to be delivered alive.
Exactly. She asks if Frank is dead. Rory insists yes, they killed him. He says Frank thought that blood was thicker than water. Well, it isn't, implying they had some confrontation where they defeated him through violence, perhaps with Julia's help. He claims he wouldn't suffer a man like that to live.
But Kirsty feels something is wrong.
She feels something twitch unnervingly in her belly, wondering if the Cenobites got their hooks into the situation already. Rory, trying to reassure her, offers kindness, saying he'll go to the authorities.
Then, an unseen presence makes itself known at Kirsty's shoulder.
A voice whispers, "Give me your souls."
The Cenobites, they're there.
Confirming they are present, watching, waiting to claim their due.
To fully convince Kirsty that Frank is dead, Rory tells Julia to show her his corpse.
Upstairs, the air in the hallway feels greasy and gray. The door to Frank's room is ajar. Inside is a gruesome sight. Frank's corpse, a tangle of torn bandaging, still steaming, neck broken, devoid of skin.
Okay, so Frank's body is there.
Yes, the skinless, broken body. Kirsty looks away, nauseated. Julia asks if she's satisfied, if she believes them now.
As Kirsty leaves the room, trying to process the horror, the hallway comes alive with the Cenobites' presence.
The air near her is restless. A voice whispers, "You lost." The bell begins to ring again, that same terrifying tolling, feeling like it's tolling for her, accompanied by a turmoil of wings, the sound of those black birds from the other dimension pressing close.
Oh, God.
As she hurries downstairs, she feels something like entrails wrap around her neck, pulling tight, hearing that chilling whisper, "Too late."
Rory appears in the hallway below, bruised, takes her arm, and repeats Julia's plea not to say anything to anyone but the authorities.
He opens his arms to her, trying to draw her in, and says, "Come to Daddy."
And that's the phrase that unlocks the true, horrifying nature of the situation for Kirsty.
The phrase sounds terribly wrong coming from Rory. Kirsty realizes it's not Rory speaking, it's Frank. His ravaged corpse is upstairs, yes, but his skin, Frank's consciousness, is now wed to his brother's body.
He stole Rory's skin.
It seems so. The bell grows louder, drowning out Rory's natural voice, but his face shapes the words Frank is uttering. The theft of Rory's name, his identity, in this way feels as bad to Kirsty as the physical violation. In this moment, seeing Frank in Rory's skin, she knows who he is.
Despite the chaos and terror, Kirsty confronts him directly, forcing him to confront his stolen identity.
She says, cutting through the din, "I know who you are." She reaches out, grabbing at his cheek. His skin, so recently grafted, horrifyingly slides away like silk, revealing the blood-buttered meat beneath. Julia screams in horror.
And this is the moment the Cenobites have been waiting for. Frank is revealed, named, and has shown himself in the human world. They arrive to claim him.
The bells are now fully in the house, in the world. The hallway lights overload and go out, plunging everything into darkness, punctuated by terrifying flashes. There's whimpering in the dark. Fireworks of light explode in the walls and floor, making the hallway twist and dance through nightmarish visions: an abattoir, a boudoir, a ghost train tunnel.
That sounds insane.
Through this, Kirsty sees Frank, trapped inside Rory's form with the flayed skin hanging from his jaw, pursuing her with a knife.
She ducks into the front room, hoping to escape him.
The hold on her throat relaxes as she enters the room. Perhaps the Cenobites briefly hesitate, seeing an error in claiming her before Frank. She thinks they will intervene now, seeing Frank's monstrous act.
What do they?
No, the dining room across the hall is also bewitched, full of ash and chains, showing the forces are indifferent to innocence. Frank is after her again, blocking the front door with the knife, claiming his stolen identity. "From now on, I'm Rory. Understand me, I'm Rory now, and nobody's ever going to know any better."
As Kirsty retreats up the stairs, Julia appears, making a final, horrifying choice.
Julia's on the stairs. Instead of helping Kirsty escape Frank, she reaches through the banisters, seizing Kirsty's hair, wrenching her head back as Frank's knife gleams closer. In self-defense, Kirsty grabs Julia's arm and wrenches her from the stairs. Julia falls between them. Frank, swinging wildly, his knife enters Julia's side. Julia moans, reeling away with the blade still in her.
And Frank, in his monstrous regenerating form, performs his final, horrifying act.
Frank completely ignores Kirsty now. He goes to Julia, pulls the knife out of her side. Julia cries out and weakly raises her arm. He cups her head, draws her up, seals his lips with hers, and begins to feed on her blood and essence, consuming the woman who helped bring him back.
Feeding on her.
Julia struggles in vain.
Carrying her eyes away from this horrific sight, Kirsty crawls up the stairs, desperate to escape.
On the second floor, there seems to be no escape route except jumping from a window. She decides this is preferable to providing more sustenance for Frank.
But Frank pursues her relentlessly upstairs.
It's dark up there. Frank calls out again, "Come to Daddy." Kirsty realizes the Cenobites are watching this twisted hunt with no little amusement, simply waiting for Frank to be the only one left. She understands with chilling clarity. She is now forfeit to their pleasure if Frank catches her.
She reaches the junk room, hoping for a way out.
She finds a window wedged open but can't lift it. The sash is rotted. She hunts for a lever, knowing Frank is close behind. Pulling a sheet off a tea chest, she makes another horrifying discovery. Sykes' corpse is hidden there, a dead man staring, his body broken.
Sykes again.
She clamps her hand over her mouth to stifle a cry as Frank reaches the door.
Frank enters the room, playing a terrifying game of hide-and-seek in the darkness.
The door handle turns, the door opens. She hears his heavy breath, his feet shuffling. The door closes, clicks shut, silence. She waits, peeks out, he's gone from the doorway. But her panicked hiccups betray her presence, sounding gun crack loud in the silence.
Oh no, the hiccups.
He doesn't immediately return. After a second and third hiccup, she steps onto the landing.
And she's caught again.
Frank slips from the bedroom nearby, blocking her path. He's faster now. Faster for his meal, wider, and stank of meat. Kirsty screams. Frank is utterly unashamed of his state, his stolen form. The knife is inches away.
Where does she go?
She throws herself sideways, stumbling back into Frank's room, the room where she broke the window earlier. Frank follows her, crowing his delight.
In the profound darkness of that room, she stumbles onto something horrifyingly familiar.
Her foot catches on bandaging, and she topples onto Rory's corpse, its greasy bulk.
Onto Rory's body.
Yes. She lets out a howl of horror at the feel of his dead body. Frank finds her immediately. There you are, his knife slicing closer. Kirsty, clinging to Rory's body, finds that the pain of touching him, dead and defiled, overrides her fear of death. She calls his name Rory.
Frank confirms that's right, Rory. And this is the absolute critical moment, the loophole the Cenobites were waiting for.
Kirsty feels the profound theft of Rory's name as unforgivable. A ghost thought flashes into her mind. Suppose the Cenobites are waiting for Frank to confess his true identity, to name himself. "You're not Rory," she insists, clinging to the corpse. "Rory's dead." Frank replies, "We know that, but nobody else does. He thinks he's safe in his stolen skin." Kirsty presses him. "Ho, though." Frank, perhaps confused by her insistence or confident he's won, says, "Hush, baby. Frank's here, baby."
Frank's here.
Kirsty pushes one last time, "Frank." And he confirms, "That's right. I'm Frank."
He said it. He named himself.
He did. Frank delivers a blow with the knife, but Kirsty dodges. Then the bell begins again, louder than ever. The bare bulb flickers back to life.
What does she see?
Frank is standing beside Rory's corpse, the knife now stuck in its buttock. He turns to Kirsty. Another chime rings out, and he advances on her. But then a voice calls his name, not with anger, but lightly. "Frank."
The Cenobites.
Frank's face twists, first in puzzlement, then sheer horror. He turns to see the Cenobite from the hospital room, its hook sparkling, 3 others behind it.
They got him.
Frank looks at Kirsty, finally understanding who summoned them, who sealed his fate. "You did this." She simply nods. One of the Cenobites addresses Kirsty. "Get out of here. This isn't your business now."
Frank must be furious.
He rages at her, screaming, "Whore! Bitch!"
As Kirsty reaches the door, Frank, only a foot away with the knife raised, is suddenly fixed in place.
The Cenobites have cast their hooks. They're in him arms, legs, face the chains taut. His resistance is useless. It only pulls the barbs deeper, dragging his mouth wide, plowing open his neck and chest. The knife drops from his hand.
Jeez.
He manages one last curse before shuddering and being drawn back inexorably to the room's center.
The voice of a Cenobite, now invisible in the reasserting reality of the room, says simply, "Go."
Kirsty opens the door, escaping the room just as Frank screams behind her. The house itself seems to growl around her. She takes one last look back. Frank is hooked, drawn tight by the chains, shrieking in his final ultimate torment.
Does he die?
His cries stop. There's a pause. And then, in a last act of defiance, he looks at her, his eyes glittering, pearls and awful, and puts his tongue out in a final, unrepentant lewdness as the chains tighten fully.
Oh my God.
He came unsewn, his limbs and head separate in a welter of bone shards and heat. She slams the door something, perhaps his head thuds against it.
Staggering downstairs, she experiences the echoes of the other dimension pressing in.
Yeah, the house is filled with the sound of wolves howling in the walls, bells in turmoil, the ghosts of wounded birds thickening the air, a horrifying soundscape.
In the hallway, she hears a voice call her name, Julia's voice.
A trail of blood leads into the dining room. Kirsty follows it. The dining room is ruined, smoldering furniture, a carpet of ash. In the middle sits a bride. It's Julia in her wedding dress and veil, looking strangely radiant despite the devastation around her.
Julia. How?
She asks for help me, but the voice doesn't come from under the veil. It comes from the bride's lap. Folds of fabric part, revealing Julia's head, severed and set on a pillow of scarlet silk.
Her head.
The head begs, Kirsty, sighs, and rolls its head.
Kirsty might have been compelled to destroy the head, but something else intervenes.
The veil twitches, then rises on its own, light flickers, then grows brighter yet from beneath the veil. A voice speaks, resonant and final. I am the engineer.
The engineer. The fifth Cenobite.
Nothing more is said. The head beneath the veil gains brilliance, becoming like a minor sun, a focal point for this entity.
Kirsty doesn't wait to be blinded or consumed by the engineer's presence.
No way. She backs away into the hallway. The ghosts of birds are almost solid now, the wolves howling insane. She flings herself at the front door, even as the hallway ceiling began to give way, the house collapsing in on itself. She escapes into the night, a clean darkness.
Her second escape.
Marking her second departure from this horror. She wonders chillingly if there will be a third.
As she looks back at the corner, the house stands quiet now, as a grave. No, quieter, devoid of the supernatural turmoil.
She collides with someone huddled on the street, a pedestrian. The figure glances back at her, and its head flares with an intense light, a cone of white fire. It's the engineer, gone as quickly as it appeared.
And then she realizes the purpose of that collision.
The box has been passed back to her. It sits in her hand, immaculately resealed and polished, with no clue to its solution left. She understands now that she is its keeper.
Oh man, she's stuck with it.
She looks at the lacquer surface and sees ghosts reflected there. Julia, Frank, but not Rory.
Not Rory. She thinks of Rory, wonders if other puzzles, maybe a crossword or a jigsaw, might somehow lead her to him.
She decides she will wait and watch for Rory's puzzle, hoping for some sign, but notes that she won't grieve too deeply if it never comes, fearing that the mending of broken hearts be a puzzle neither wit nor time had the skill to solve.
Wow. So we followed Frank's absolute pursuit of pleasure and the terrifying reality of what the Cenobites' pleasure turned out to be.
Yeah, and we've witnessed Julia's chilling descent into darkness, completely driven by her obsession with Frank, transforming a seemingly normal home into a literal battleground for blood and monstrous regeneration.
And we saw Kirsty's horrifying, accidental entanglement with these forces and her desperate, narrow escape. It's quite a journey.
This story really forces you to question deeply held ideas about desire, the unpredictable and irreversible consequences of certain choices, and the absolute limits of sensation, both physical and psychological.
Definitely.
It starkly presents the terrifying possibility of hidden boundaries between worlds and shows how people are utterly transformed by their obsessions and these extreme experiences, sometimes into monsters, sometimes just fundamentally broken by the process.
It leaves you with so much to think about. What does this story make you consider about the very fine line between pleasure and pain? About the extreme, horrifying things we might do for someone we're completely obsessed with?
Or even how little control we might truly have once we deliberately invite unknown, perhaps unknowable forces into our lives. It's a chilling reminder of the potential cost of unchecked curiosity.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And you're left with Kirsty, forever changed by what she's witnessed and endured. She's left with the box, the key to opening the schism, and she's waiting for another puzzle, another sign, one that might somehow lead her back to Rory.
And that's the really haunting question, isn't it? Is her fate, the fate of perpetually waiting with this object that calls terrifying things, waiting for some terrible door to potentially open again, perhaps just hoping for a glimpse of the man she loved among the horrors she witnessed? Is that, in some ways, a worse punishment than anything the Cenobites inflicted on Frank?
What truly happens to the ones left behind? Not taken, but left holding the pieces of the puzzle and the pieces of their shattered lives. Makes you think.